Welcome to MINDSHOCK. This is Bruce McGuire.
And this is Sid Irwin.
And today we are taking a look at a very important topic. It is of critical importance in the field of cryptozoology. Is Bigfoot a robot or a cybernetic organism? If you like the podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications. Make sure your device allows the notifications to come through. Like our Facebook page. You can also check us out on Twitter, Reddit, Patreon. And if you like the podcast, you can hit the like button and feel free to share it across social media platforms. Any questions, comments, theories, just leave them in the comments section. So, Sid, what do you think of the idea that Bigfoot might be a robot and possibly even a robot type drone for extraterrestrials or some kind of interdimensional entities that are using it in some kind of bizarre experiment on humans?
I have to admit, that would be the first time I've ever heard that theory.
Well, this is MINDSHOCK.
Consider my mind shocked then.
Well, why do you think? Okay, so first of all, there are samples of Bigfoot. So once again, we're not going to fall for black and white fallacies. Bigfoot might also be a real creature, but maybe it's either extinct or so close to extinct, like modern humans making a robot bear. That doesn't mean other bears don't exist. That just means that they made a robot of a bear that looks like a bear. So Bigfoot might be the same thing. Bigfoot might be some kind of interdimensional creature. It might be some kind of a ghost. It might be a shadow entity of some kind. By the way, if you haven't checked out all of our MINDSHOCK episodes on those theories, we actually have them, so check those out, as well as many more Bigfoot theories. But is it possible that Bigfoot is also some kind of robot or cybernetic organism made by either extraterrestrials, interdimensional entities of some kind, or maybe even the U.S. government in kind of doing experiments, a kind of almost a control type of experiment where they see how humans react to Bigfoot, how Bigfoot is reported? Because if Bigfoot is also a real creature separately, that could be very important data for certain government scientists to see how to handle it. So they're holding like a type of control group experiment.
That could be the case, but why do we have to limit it just to the U.S. government? There's other governments just as well.
Oh, well, yeah, no, and it could be other governments. It's generally the U.S. government seems to have a lot more money to spend than other governments on weird and bizarre projects.
Well, I just think the U.S. has more money and stuff to spend on just...
Yeah, I mean, I don't think like the Zimbabwe government is putting a lot of money into weird Project Bluebeam where they're creating holograms in the sky. Like, I don't think other governments are quite as interested in some of the fields that the U.S. government is. I'm gonna have to ask JR about that. Why other governments? Yeah, it is kind of strange. It seems more of a first world type governments that would be doing bizarre stuff like that. But even like even the UK or China, they don't seem to be into as many super bizarre type experiments and top secret classified projects as the US. Although we might not know because they're classified. But in general, some of these other countries, they just seem to be a lot less interested in the bizarre, wacky zaniness that the U.S. engages in.
Fair point.
Although the USSR did have some, they did compete. Didn't they have some experiment on mind-controlled dolphins, like weaponizing mind-controlled dolphins?
The Russians do look like they use a representative for the such. I mean...
Yeah, the Soviet Union, I believe we have to do a dedicated episode on this. The Soviet Union, I think, even had an abominable snowman project where I think they had genetically engineered Yetis.
Huh.
Something of that nature. But this podcast is about robots. So, you've never heard this theory. Nobody's come up with this theory. I guess this is another Bruce McGuire theory where I have postulated a scenario that many others have not. So what do you think? You think it's likely?
I mean, it could be. I mean, I have heard those talk about legendary, mythical, or unseen creatures of sorts that have been deemed to potentially be actually a robot or mechanical organism such as I heard through Loch Ness. So, just as much so, Bigfoot, why not?
Well, again, not to fall for black and white fallacies, what if Bigfoot is some kind of interdimensional creature from a dimension where all so-called life is robotic?
Or techno-organic even?
Yes, techno-organic. Is that a Sid Irwin term? I haven't heard that before.
Oh no, no, it's not a term of my own.
Where'd you get that from? Did you get that from one of your Mensa colleagues?
Yeah, it's one of my Mensa colleagues that happened to be a very big nerd and loved his Marvel comics.
So, yeah, if there's some kind of robotic creature, they could be acting of their own volition, or if they're programmed, they could be part of a government experiment, or they could be some kind of an extraterrestrial. Okay, do you think extraterrestrial interdimensional entities get bored and they kind of like this is their video game type entertainment where they just mess with humans in all these different ways?
I mean, it is possible.
Because what if Bigfoot really was a real creature? Maybe it's extinct now, maybe it isn't. It's like in a video game, like you could play a police officer, like you could play some kind of soldier and all these different types of games. What if aliens or interdimensional creatures, their entertainment, they thought of, well, let's create a robotic Bigfoot. We could either teleport it or transport it via highly advanced UFO technology and then have it either kill, abduct, or just scare humans just for fun. So they're just kind of screwing around just for fun. And how would you know? And also, is that why there's relatively limited DNA evidence? Because maybe either Bigfoot is now extinct or there's so few of them, but there's so many sightings. There seems to be a disparity in the amount of sightings and encounters versus physical evidence. Now, illogical skeptics would say, well, that's because Bigfoot's fake and everybody's hallucinating. I mean, that's a lot of people to be hallucinating. I don't know. Like, I don't buy it. I think they at least think they're telling the truth. And you have so many trained people as well. You have police officers, park rangers. They go their whole life. They only hallucinated once. If the environment was prone to hallucinations, they should have multiple hallucinating encounters, not just one. That doesn't make any sense.
So then, but think about it this way then. Say if Bigfoot's either a robot or a techno-organic creature of sorts or intergalactic, what if it has the ability to either generate wormholes that can, like small pockets that it can pass through in an instant? So you might see Bigfoot go behind a tree, but you don't really see it come out past it. And you're like, where did it go?
Yeah, that seems to be a lot of encounters are similar to that. Yeah.
Or what if it could release a sort of gas or pheromone that could mess with the mind and create it to be foggy in its memory, or in a person's memory, or just put them in I won't say a sort of haze.
Yeah. Have you done a lot of Bigfoot research? Because that is reported. And there are theories regarding that as well as infrasound. Are you familiar with infrasound?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's actually quite, I don't want to say popular, but it's been theorized and it's been discussed among Bigfoot researchers. So it does exactly what you just described. It puts people in the fog, all these things. Obviously, it wouldn't necessarily have to be robotic, but if it was a robot entity with advanced technology at its disposal, that is pretty interesting. That's pretty interesting. That could explain, it could even be emitting various different frequencies that mess with brain waves. So that could explain a lot of these bizarre sightings. Yeah, that's very interesting.
It could.
So, and there also have been Bigfoot bodies. I'll be doing a podcast coming up on all of the Bigfoot bodies that have been sighted and even captured that a lot of people don't know about. Because so-called skeptics, I mean, the true scientific position is skepticism but in an objective neutrality skepticism. So you'd be skeptical both of Bigfoot existing and not existing. Because if you don't know, you're in a neutral position. Skeptics always seem to forget that, and in their circular reasoning and all these other fallacies, they assume Bigfoot's not real and then just go by that. But if Bigfoot is real, you don't want to fall for any denying the antecedent fallacies or, once again, black and white fallacies. There could be all these other variables and factors, as if there is a Bigfoot government conspiracy. By the way, if you haven't checked that podcast out, we do have a podcast on the Bigfoot conspiracy, citing government documentation on the existence of Bigfoot, as well as a possible cover-up and how it would work and how it would account for the supposed lack of evidence where there actually isn't quite a lack of evidence if there is a conspiracy. So yeah, so as far as I know, there's never been robotic or techno-organic type Bigfoot ever recovered. But that would be pretty interesting if there was one. It could also, if it is advanced technology, I suppose it would have fail safes built in, right? So if it either disintegrating or immediately transporting back upon capture, some kind of self-destruct, right? Because if there's a vested interest to not have Bigfoot revealed, if that's either part of the plan or whatever it is, part of a stealth program, there would probably be a self-destruct failsafe, and that would explain the lack of Bigfoot evidence as well, right?
Right, it could. Ooh, also, what if it has phase/plane shifting technology?
Yeah, man, this is a mind-shocking podcast because, yeah, we don't want to fall for any black and white fallacies. All of these variables could be in play, and that would explain a lot of things, wouldn't it? It would explain the plethora of sightings and the supposed disproportionate amount of physical evidence in relation to the sightings. What could be some possible reasons, other than to mess with people, that other entities could have engineered robotic Bigfoots?
Well, as you said, there's potential scouting reasons, if necessary, or like not much. Maybe we are part of a experiment, and those are sent there to check up on an occasion. It could be even an abandoned experiment, and they just run autopilot, checking in every so often.
You know what's weird? See, a lot of this is so hard to prove. So some people theorize that if Bigfoot researchers or Bigfoot show producers spent less money on making all these reality TV shows of people camping and hunting Bigfoot, and they just spent some money on some helicopters with thermal imaging cameras, if Bigfoot is a warm-blooded mammal, they would be able to, you just fly over all of this wilderness. It wouldn't cost that much money. I mean, we're not talking millions of dollars. It could probably be done for tens of thousands of dollars.
Good.
And yet as to my knowledge, nobody's ever done it. Do you find that strange?
I do.
But if Bigfoot was robotic, it wouldn't show up on thermal imaging, would it?
So if it is robotic, you have to also question whether or not it might have jammers. So even with the searches, you won't be able to pick up on it.
Another interesting point that is kind of overlooked to a certain extent, at least in the mainstream Bigfoot research. I know the hardcore researchers do go into this, but a lot of people's cameras seem to fail to capture Bigfoot. So, and in other paranormal phenomena, it's the same issue. I've actually done a podcast on this titled Analog versus Digital in Paranormal Phenomena. So if you haven't checked out that podcast, check it out. Why is some of the best evidence of either ghosts, Bigfoot, it was captured on analog film where you don't have electromagnetic frequency radiation in play?
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, so with Bigfoot, I've theorized and other people have theorized that somehow either through infrared or other frequency disturbance, if Bigfoot specifically evolved to avoid capture or to be stealth-like, if that's their primary mechanism for survival, is it really that out of the realm of possibility? I mean, humans evolved using tools and all of these things. That's how Homo sapiens evolved. That's what we do. If you believe in a theory of evolution, which that's another can of worms. But certain species of animals certainly are more well suited to do one thing versus another. So whether you believe in mainstream evolution, whether you believe in intelligent design, you can say that humans or that different species were designed for different purposes. So regardless of whether or not you want to go with evolution, Darwinian or otherwise, or intelligent design, if Bigfoot as a mammalian creature, if Bigfoot, whether Gigantopithecus or however you want to classify Bigfoot, or another offshoot of Homo sapiens in the hominid family, if they evolved specifically for stealth, could they have some kind of infrared or electromagnetic frequency disturbing defense mechanism of some kind, or evolutionary mechanism or trait that causes that? But would it be more, it would be more likely that if Bigfoot was a robotic or techno-organic, as you've said, entity, that could be programmed into it, and that would be a lot easier, and it wouldn't be able to do anything about analog film, would it? And that's what I've speculated this for a while. Some of the best ghost images ever captured were also captured on analog film. They were not captured on digital. And even though there are quite a few modern captures, you always have to wonder how much of it is CGI, how much of it has been faked or digitally manipulated. If you're looking at images from 50 years ago, 100 years ago, they could still be manipulated, of course. They have their techniques to manipulate it, but those techniques were not easy to achieve. So the average person finding a film negative in their attic, unless they were some kind of eccentric millionaire, they don't necessarily have the motive means opportunity to fake these analog images. So regarding Bigfoot, would it make sense that Bigfoot hasn't been captured as often as one would think it would, with everybody having their cell phone now? And also, as you've pointed out and reminded me, if they're emitting some kind of brainwave affecting frequency or infrared, that's going to prevent a witness from being able to capture them, right? So yeah, there's a lot of variables at play here, but if it was robotic, it would be certainly easier to jam frequencies of digital equipment, whether it was audio or video recording equipment.
Indeed.
Or even simply calling for help, even just cell phones, if we're talking advanced technology here. Now let me throw another mind shock in here. What if this is some kind of being from the future? Is Bigfoot from the future time traveling as a techno-organic or robotic entity?
Wow, that would be interesting.
Because he's curious about this time period. If the future, if humans all exterminate each other in the future, and only robotic entities are left, maybe robotic Bigfoot is the only creature left in some kind of bizarre future or alternate timeline. If they're dimension hopping, like in Sliders, they're not necessarily from the future. Another dimension where robotic or techno-organic big feet reign supreme. They're just dimension hopping here, just as tourism.
Very well could be.
Man, this might be the most bizarre Bigfoot podcast ever recorded.
Just might.
Did we cover everything regarding techno-organic and robotic Bigfoot possibilities, or did we leave some things? Did we leave any stones unturned, Sid?
I think we definitely put a firm dent into it. So I'm hoping that our viewers might be able to point out even any theories of their own in the comments.
Yeah, if you have any questions, addendums, alternate possibilities, alternate theories that fit under the umbrella of techno-organic or robotic or cybernetic Bigfoot, feel free to leave any and all questions, comments, thoughts of any kind in the comment section. Thank you for joining us for another edition of the MINDSHOCK podcast in our ongoing Bigfoot podcast, where we attempt to go over every single aspect of the Bigfoot cryptozoological phenomena. And I think we're doing pretty good so far in terms of scope and discussing all of these, a myriad of possibilities of what Bigfoot can be without falling for any logical fallacies. If you like the podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications. If you like the podcast, hit the like button. Feel free to share it across social media platforms. And you can also like our Facebook page. Check us out. Reddit, Twitter, Patreon, and patrons do get priority in requesting topics or true crime cases, and even podcasters. So if you want the Mensa-minded Sid Irwin, you can feel free to request him as a podcaster for any topic of your choosing. Patrons do get priority. This is Bruce McGuire signing off.
Consider it.
We'll catch you guys next time.